Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. This is the third, well, actually fourth part of my worst matches I've ever seen series. Covering all companies. Doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter the era. It could be back in the '60s. If I didn't think it was that interesting, and not even a technical masterpiece, I may put it on here, but very unlikely. This will probably be more stuff just from the '80s on to now. I've gotten suggestions from people in the comments. Thank you very much for that. At a freaky dude and at forgot how to say your Cremini Ginger. Forgive me if I got that wrong, Jen. Sorry if I got that wrong. I kind of blanked on a couple of the words, but thank you so much for those suggestions. I will be writing those down, watching them if I haven't seen them or I need a refresher course. So anyway, without further ado, usually I do about 2 matches per show. That way I go a little more in depth and you guys can get and I don't just slam like 5 matches into one show. Plus, it gives me a chance to rant on some of these. So anyway, further ado, Taker versus Giant Gonzalez at Mania 9. I mean, Giant Gonzalez was not any good anyway when he was Elegante in WCW. I mean, One Man Gang and Sid had to sell horribly for him. I mean, they sold fine, but they had to oversell because Gigante was not any good. I mean, hell, he was in WCW in 90, I think 90 and 91 and even 92. And then came to WWE, made his debut at the 93 Rumble, beating up Undertaker, slamming him groin first into the I believe slamming him groin first into the post and then slamming his knees and stuff like that. I mean, the guy was legit 7'6" and could at least move somewhat, but you can only do so much when you're that tall. And Taker, it being 6'8", 6'9", whatever his actual height is, yeah, you had to look up at Giant Gonzalez, and they built this as a monumental clash, like a clash of the giants. This is going to be such a great match. Mania 9 was a train wreck anyway, by by no matter by every stretch of the imagination. They had a head shrinkers versus the Steiners is not a bad match. It was a pretty good tag match. And Shawn versus Tatanka was fine, except Tatanka should have won. Shawn didn't need to keep the title at that point, but he politicked his way, reportedly. So yeah, that's something. But yeah, the whole match ending with Hogan getting not cashing in, even though he might as well have had the Money in the Bank briefcase. Gets a title shot against Yokozuna, who had just beaten Brett, and then beats him in 30 seconds. And Hogan stands tall again in the main event of Mania. But before that, you had Giant Gonzalez versus Taker. Taker had a really cool chariot entrance with a vulture, I think a vulture on his shoulder. It was weird, but anyway, vulture, buzzard, raven, giant, feathered pterodactyl. I don't know. But he had a cool entrance. Giant Gonzalez had the entrance where he's like, that's basically all he did. I mean, he wasn't like Khali who did this and then his jaw, and then he would open his mouth and his jaw would like hit the floor because the guy had a face the size of an Easter Island statue. But Giant Gonzalez, Taker, besides the stare down they had at the beginning where it's like Giant Gonzalez is here and Taker is here, that was about it. It was a messy match. It was bad. I mean, the Vegas crowd wasn't even all that great and receptive to it. I don't blame them. I don't think any crowd would have been. Imagine if that had been Madison Square Garden. Imagine that. It would have been ridiculous. Anyway. Yeah, Giant Gonzalez ends up chloroforming Taker using ether or whatever. Taker gets knocked out. That ends up being a DQ. And then Taker gets hauled off. The idea is that wasn't announced as a DQ at first, though, so okay, this is Taker's first loss at Mania. No, it wasn't Taker's first loss at Mania. Taker comes back and ends up knocking Gonzalez off his feet. And then it was announced that Taker had won by DQ, so technically he won, even though that was a match that you really want to just keep off of Taker's resume. Vince should have been ashamed of that. Vince should have had Backlund face. He shouldn't have had Gonzalez ever come in the company. He should have had like Bob Backlund face Taker or something. I mean, because Bob Backlund faced Razor Ramon on that card, and that went nowhere. You could have had Razor face somebody else, Tio Santana or somebody. I don't know. You could have had Razor face somebody and beat him. I mean, Backlund would have at least been a different guy for Taker to beat. But who knows? It's just the whole thing with Gonzalez and Taker is just bad. It's like nothing was good. There was no flow, no pacing, nothing. And even the two Giants thing, it was just bad and it was ridiculous. And now I wrote this down before, but too bad. I'm going to credit somebody else anyway at a freaky dude for suggesting. And I talk about again Jenna Maraska, the Survivor whore, versus Sharmell at TNA Victory Road 2009. Now there's a reason I'm bringing this up. because I'm going to rant about it again. You could have put anybody in the ring with Sharmell, and it probably wouldn't have been that good anyway, because Sharmell's not a wrestler. This is not knocking Sharmell. She was not a wrestler. She was athletic enough. She was a former Nitro dancer. That was years before. I don't know how athletic she was since. But one, I believe she was even in. She was not in very good ring gear, so that already would have hindered it. But also, since Sharmell's not a wrestler, you could put any wrestler against her, and it wouldn't have worked. But no, they decided to pay an obscene amount of money to Jenna Morasca, who was on the season of Survivor. I don't know what season. I don't care what season. Survivor's a lame-ass show anyway. The fact that that show is even still going just proves how American TV, well, TV in general, is just going down the toilet, and how reality TV is just evil as hell. Some of it can be played for laughs, but sorry, Survivor is just ridiculous. How that show has survived, pardon the pun, for this long, I'll never know. Jenna Morasca never appreciated wrestling. I don't care what she's said in interviews. I don't know if she's done in interviews. I don't care. Probably hearing her voice would make me want to, just take a concrete drill to my skull. But watching her wrestle made me want to take a concrete drill to whoever came up with the idea to put her out there. It was bad. And it wasn't like involving celebrities in wrestling has been done since the 60s, the 50s, 60s, whatever. But usually more or less the people had respect for it. Jenna Morasca had no respect, did a slutty entrance that made anything that Sunny or Sable did look like a masterpiece by comparison. And then she does, I don't know what she did. She did stuff called wrestling. I mean, people say Eva Marie can't run the ropes. And I mean, I'm not here to credit Eva Marie. At least Eva Marie is trying. She's failing, but she's trying. Jenna Morasca didn't even look like she knew what ropes were, besides ones that she maybe took besides maybe ones that she slid up and down like a stripper pole, because that's all she could do. She seriously was grinding around like crazy. She ended up pinning Sharmell. She ended up beating Sharmell, which is even more ridiculous. I mean, the fact that Sharmell couldn't have even beat her. And then you had a bunch of women out there. I mean, you had, let's see, Kong, I think, was out there. I want to say Sojourner Bolt was out there. I hope that's how you say her name. I can't remember. They used her so badly. I can only remember her last name was Bolt, and she wasn't like Usain Bolt. But watching it, I'm just like, what is it? Why did they think this was a good idea? I mean, this was when TNA was still, 2009 wasn't their best year, but it was a pretty good year with some top quality wrestling, and that's the best they could do? They still had good guys in the X division. I mean, they shouldn't have made Foley their TNA champion, but whatever. He only had a title for a couple months. Angle's the champion, was fine. But yeah, there was a good glut of talent, even though they were relying on some of the older guys. And they put this crap out? I mean, no wonder the Knockouts division in TNA suddenly fell down and couldn't get back up. Because after promoting the fact that women were going to be shown as wrestlers, they were going to matter, they were going to mean something, this is what they did? Seriously? That's the best you can do? I mean, my God, it's like that. Even involving a celebrity that wanted to just go out and try to do something and couldn't, if they at least showed effort, it would have been one thing. Jenna Morasca pissed on everything, shit on everything that wrestling was about. Not just TNA, wrestling in general. It was an abortion of a match, and how dare TNA even say, oh, it was great publicity. Whoever came up with that idea, I don't know who did it, but whoever did should have been put in jail for, what they did and ripping off the fans like that. So that's what I got to say about that. Jenna Morasca, you piece of shit slut. So anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, comment, and subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.